Okay, g'day and welcome to this painting tutorial. Today we are painting the Nihilakh Dynasty Necrons, more specifically the ones that I've devised. It's a nice quick scheme and pretty highly requested that I make a tutorial, so here it is. So obviously you can see quite a cool looking bluish green armour going on here for the Necrons. Obviously there's not a lot of that colour on a warrior, but this is what we'll be painting today, a Necron warrior. And you can see here I've shortened the rifle here. I do that with all Gauze weapons in my army, as you can see here, also with this Immortal with the Gauze blaster. If you want to see how I do that, there is a tutorial on this channel for shortening and modifying the weapons for the Necrons that I use. But today we're going to show you how to paint the Nihilakh Dynasty warriors. Let's have a look at the paints that I use, and then we'll get started. Okay, so you can see here a couple of other examples that I've used this scheme on. So obviously the warrior that we're painting today is an Immortal, very similar thing, just a little more blue on there. And then a character here, this is Isaac, a Cryptek. I made him out of various different kits, but as you can see with the characters, I've just put a little more blue on, so I painted their whole chest. But the same scheme applies, the same way of doing it applies, so you can apply this to your entire army. Just one more example here, I have a Triarch Stalker. As you can see, I've done exactly the same with this model, the same metallics, the same blue, and the same greens on there as well. So very easy scheme to apply to your entire army. So we're going to show you how to paint the warrior today. Let's get started. Okay, so to get started, you can see here I've got the model already based in the leadbelcher spray. Nice solid coat, so you get a nice shine to it. We're then going to go straight ahead and apply niln oil to it. I'm using a dry brush here. You can use any big brush, it's totally your choice. I'm not going to skip or fast forward any of this painting tutorial. I'm just going to show you everything that I do, apart from drying, of course. I'll skip that. Reason being is I want you to see just how quick this painting scheme is. I want you to see everything that I do and get an idea of how much time it's going to take you to do it. I do pride myself on finding a quick way to do schemes. Whether it's cheating or not, that's up to you, but it's the way I like to paint. I like to get armies on the table nice and fast, but still looking really good. So there you are, there's the niln oil applied, really quick. Obviously we'll let that dry and then we'll come back and we'll dry brush. Okay, so there we are, the wash is dry and it's looking kind of dark and kind of dirty, so we want to bring that shine back up. As you can see with the other model, it's nice and shiny, but the crevices are still dark, so we are going to use stormhost silver here, and we're going to dry brush using a large brush here straight onto the armour and brighten that back up a bit. Give it a good shake. Got some paper towel here. I'm just going to use that. To wash off the excess. So you can see roughly how much is left, and just draw it over the model, just like that. Very easy. Now you don't want to go too heavy with this. You do want to keep a bit of that darkness in the crevices, so really just want to get the flatter surfaces brightened up. Remembering you don't need to concentrate too much on the shoulders there. We're going to paint that differently later. So there you go, it's brightened up. So that was another quick step. No need to wait for that to dry. It is called dry brushing for a reason. We can go straight on to the next step, which is making the dirty joints and the dirty parts of the model. Alright, so we're going to use seraphim sepia here, and we are going to wash it into bits like the joints, there's joints in here, the knees, there's joints around the ankles there, also the back of the knees and the legs there. So we'll go ahead and do that. So I'm just using a medium layer brush here. Don't really need a fine tip for it. Just get it on there nice and quick. So you can see it's sort of bringing out a little bit of dirtiness in the knees, the ankles. Don't forget to go around and get the back as well. There's ball joints here at the back of the legs there. We'll go just under the chest rig there. Elbows, and get those on both sides. Shoulders, important. They're nice big and very visible. And I also do just a little bit at the wrists here, just to separate that the wrist joint there from the actual armour. So there you go. That's another quick step done. Actually, I might just get in here, in the groin there. That's another quick step done. We'll then go on to how we're going to darken up the weapon. Now for that I actually use 3 wash layers. So I'll use 2 further layers of niln oil, and then as a last layer I'll use agrax earthshade. So we do that over the weapon, the entire weapon there, so I'll show you that now as well. So no need to wait between the seraphim sepia and this step, you can just go straight onto it. So nice thick layer just all over the weapon here. Try not to get the little hand that's here. You want to keep that nice and shiny. Get behind there. Okay, so there's one layer of black. We want to do another layer of black once it's dry, and then once that is dry we'll go on and do a layer of agrax earthshade. So I'll let this dry and then we'll do another coat. Alright, so there's the first layer done. I've gone out into the bathroom and hair dried that just to speed up the drying process. We'll put our second layer of niln oil on now. So just to mention, I actually paint these usually in batches of full squads, and it's quite handy because as you go along and as you're applying the washes and the paints, by the time that you've got to the last guy in the squad, the first guy you painted is usually dry and ready for the next coat. So paint these in batches. It makes things a lot more time efficient. I can generally paint a squad of 10 warriors within 3 or 4 hours. That's including drying time. So as I said, very quick scheme. So anyway, we'll let that second coat dry. Next coat we're going to do is agrax earthshade. Okay, that's dry. So you can see the second layer there has darkened that down even further. It's getting further and further away from the shininess of the Necron warrior himself. So agrax, earthshade next, and same thing again. Nice layer over the top. And then once this is dry, we don't actually need to do anything more to this metal. It's nice just to have it dull. Don't need a dry brusher or line highlight it or anything like that. So once this layer is dry, we'll move on to the blue armour, and I'll show you how that's done. Okay, so now that's dry, let's get stuck into the green shoulder pads. I use sotek green for that. I pre-thin this down when I buy the bottle. I pre-thin it down with a little bit of Lamium medium just to get it to a nice smooth consistency. So all of my layer and base paints are pre-thinned, just in case you're wondering. So I don't actually use the palette here to thin, I use it just to control how much I've got on the brush. So again, just using medium layer brush. It's not incredibly fine detail on here. So sotek green, give it a good shake, and so you can see it's quite runny. It's quite good. So a little bit on the brush, and then straight onto shoulder pads. Don't forget to get the front of the pads, side, and the back edge. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so nice solid coat there, and do that to the other side as well. Again, very, very quick. You should only need one layer, depends how far you've thinned it, but it should go on one nice layer. Just like that. Okay. Okay, so the shoulder pads are dry and we're ready to dry brush skink blue onto the model. If you've never used a dry paint before, as you can see, it is it's like a jelly almost. So you don't need to shake it up or anything. You simply get a little bit on the end of your brush, get your palette or paper towel, sorry for the view there, and wipe most of it off. So you've only got a little bit left on the brush there. Once you've got to that stage, you want to concentrate mostly on the raised edges and the edges of the shoulder pads here. So I'm just going to go across towards the front corner of the shoulder pad there, and then I want to get that raised ridge next to the spine there. So do that on both sides. Okay, so it's really that easy. So you can see it's quite rough. It makes the armour look a little uneven, which is good. These are million-year-old or more than a million-year-old machines that have been sleeping in the dust for many, many years. So that is the skink blue done. Again, we can go straight onto the next colour, because dry brushing is dry brushing. The next one is Tyrant Skull, which is also a dry paint. We are going to use that to just identify some of the front edges here. So the front edges of the armour there, and just a little bit on these two top ridges there. So I'm just going to go ahead and wash this brush and get it ready for another layer. Okay, so that's washed. An important thing to remember is that dry brushes need to be incredibly dry to be effective. So I've made sure this is absolutely dry, there's no moisture in it at all, and also you want to make sure you got the previous color completely out. So I've done my best to do that, and we're going to move on to Tyrant Skull. Open that up. Again, it's just a jelly. Get a bit on the end of your brush like that. Onto the palette. Apologise, you can't see what I'm doing here. It's a bit hard in my little studio here to get everything on camera, but there we go. So very, very light dry brush here. So just want to pick out the very front corners here. Okay. Okay, so you can see it's sort of gone to from a dark green to a light cream, which is perfect. That's what we want. I'll then just go very lightly over these two things at the back there. There you go. So that is the armour done. We will dirty that a little bit with some sepia later on. But for now we're going to go on to the gold pieces. Now there is gold on the front there and on the face of the model. There is an emblem on the chest that I don't do on the warriors, just simply because I want them to stay unremarkable. But I do paint that central chest glyph there on other models like Immortals and Lich Guard, so on and so forth. But on these, we'll only do the barrel of the gun and the face mask in gold, so we'll get onto that now. Okay, so again, I've pre-thinned my paints down. I've used Lamia Medium to thin the metallic down. So this is Retributor armour, and we are going to paint the front barrel here. Should only need one coat with this. It's quite a good coverage on this paint, very good pigment. So there's the barrel there, and then the face mask. So you only want to get the mask part, you don't want to get the back of his head, so there's a separation there, and you want to make sure that you keep that clear, and you only get his face mask. So there you go. It's that easy. So that's the gold done. We will wash this and highlight it with a line highlight next. So make sure that's dry, and then we'll go on to the next step. Alright, so the gold's dry. Let's quickly do a wash of niln oil over it. And you might be wondering why I use niln oil and not a brown wash. I actually really like the contrast that comes from putting a black wash over gold. I don't want it to be a very obvious gold. Putting a agrax earthshade or sepia onto the gold tends to make it too brown, but I like the darkness and the contrast that black gives to it. So we'll let that dry, and then we're going to do a quick highlight of stormhost silver on the edges, and then those gold pieces are done. Okay, so get out your stormhost silver, and I've thinned this one down, of course. You need quite a small brush here. I'm using a small layer brush, and basically what we're going to do, use your palette if you've got one. I don't think I need one, but what you're going to do is you're going to edge highlight the little spokes here. So just run the edge of the brush along these edges, nice and quick like that. So there you are, that's the rifle there. And for the skeleton, the skull, you'll run a line down each of the edges of the skull here, like that, and then over the brow, like that, on the nose, across the lips, and then just on the top of the cheekbones on either side. Okay, so that's all the highlighting you'll do. Okay, we're going to use two colours to finish off the gun here. We're going to use balthasar gold. That's going to be for the little coils, make them look like copper coil there. And abaddon black is simply going to go on this pipe here. It's the same for all Necron weapons that I do across the army. Any coils are done in this balthasar gold, and the pipes are all done in abaddon black. We don't need to wash, we don't need to highlight any of those, so we're just going to go straight on with them. So small layer brush, these are quite fine, and you just want to go across those coils like that. There's a coil above, there's a coil beneath. There's also a coil hidden in the top of the gun here. Just gently do that. And then over the other side as well. There's one there. There's one underneath as well. So there you go. That's the copper coils complete. We will do the black as well whilst we're here. Okay, so I've gone to a medium layer brush and just get some black straight from the pot, straight onto the pipe. Okay, get all around it, both sides. And there's a little U-shaped pipe under here as well. Just colour that in like that. Okay, so that's the rifle complete. Okay, so still with the medium layer brush, just getting the seraphim sepia out. We're just going to quickly do, you don't want too much shade on your brush, you just want to go down either little side of that, the armour there, darken that armour up a little bit and make it a little dirtier. It also brings a yellowish tone to the armour as well, which the Nihilakh is known for. A lot of people do put a yellow tint onto the armour, but I just use the seraphim sepia and that does a good job. So that's that there. Now I also realised that I've forgotten to put a line of sotek green down the face of the model, which I do with all my warriors. You can see here, if we focus, there is a line down the center of the face there. So we'll just do that now as well while we're here. So get your fine detail brush out again. Just a little bit on your brush, you don't need much. Okay, so just going straight down from the top, down to the top of the nose there, and that's it. Okay, so a nice straight line just down the forehead there, and that's that done. Okay, so for the eyes and the glow, we're just going to use moot green. I do go a bit further on a couple of other models, and I'll show you that in a second. But for the warriors, I simply do just a quick dot on the eyes. So just pick out the eyeball in there, on there like that. There we go. And then just a little line just on the bottom of the eye, just on the cheek, like that. Okay, there we go. So that's a little bit of glow on there. I've probably gone a bit too much with that left eye there, but there you are. That's the eyes done as well. So a bit of green in the model. So what I mean by going a bit further with the other models, here is my Grand Overlord. This is Mahim. You'll see him in the battle reports. So yeah, heavily converted Overlord model here, but you can see how far I've gone with green here. So you've got orbs all over the model. You've got a big orb on the back there, little green crystals here, and green all over his weapon. So what I do with that is I do the same thing. I get moot green. I cover each orb with the moot green, and then I put a dot of white onto them. And then I get warpstone glow, and I mix 1 part warpstone glow to 10 parts Lahmian medium, so it ends up being a green wash, and I wash that over the orbs and into the recesses of parts that I want to look glowing. So for instance, around the orbs, you can see it looks like there's a glow there, in the recesses here on his head there, and in the recesses of his weapon as well. You can see it's a little slightly tint of green there. So that's what I do there. I do warpstone glow. I've got no models left to paint that I need to do this on, so I can't show you, but that is how I get that glow. And you can see I've done that to the little gaps in his chest as well, and just in where the pipes are. So I've just watered down the 2 greens, that's moot green and warpstone glow, and I've used those to their effect to get a nice glow effect. So you can do that on your models to add a bit of glow to the special models, but for these guys, they are completely done. So you can see they are quite identical, and very, very quick to do. Just have a look over the back here. So the armour is very consistent, and yeah, very quick to do. So you can see how easy it is to paint these models, and you can apply that across the entire army like I have. I've done it on everything. I've done it on monoliths, I've done it on stalkers like you saw, all my characters. I've got a doom scythe that's done in the same way. All the same techniques, just applied to different models on different sizes. So go ahead and have fun painting those. Again, make sure you check out the tutorial on modifying the weapons. I do that with all the Gauze weapons in my army, even on the monolith. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions or further ideas that might make them look even better, let me know. But otherwise, happy gaming, and stay tuned for more battle reports. Cheers guys, take care.